The desperate visitor at midnight. The rain outside fell heavy and cold. Wind howled through the trees like a lonely ghost. The human man, named David, sat inside his small cabin, deep in the forest of planet Juno 7. He was far from cities, far from people, and even farther from trouble, or so he thought. It was close to midnight when David heard a knock. 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 Then silence. He looked up from his book, frowning. Who would come to his door at this hour and in such weather? He slowly stood up, grabbed a metal pipe from behind the door, just in case, and opened it. There, in the rain, stood a woman. No, not a human woman, an alien. She was soaked to the bone, shivering. Her skin was pale purple, her eyes large and silver. Her robe was torn, her feet bare. She looked at him with pleading eyes and fell to her knees. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was soft but cracked. "Help me. I have no one else." David's mouth fell open. What are you doing out here?" "I walked for 2 nights. No food, no water," she said. "But you are human. You can help me." He didn't know what to say. His heart was racing. She didn't seem dangerous, but she was clearly desperate. He stepped aside. "Come in." David gave her a blanket and sat her by the heater. He offered her warm broth. She drank slowly, hands shaking. "I'm David," he said gently. "You?" She hesitated. "My name is Thaya. Where are you from?" "My home is gone," she said, her eyes filled with tears. "My people were hunted. Now, I am one of the last." David sat across from her, still confused. "Why come to me?" Thaya looked into his eyes. Her lips trembled before she spoke the words he never expected to hear. "Because I need a child, and only a human can give me one now." Silence filled the room. David blinked. "What?" She nodded slowly. "My race is almost gone. Our females can no longer bond with our own kind. Only human males are compatible. We discovered it too late. But I learned from others. Some were taken, tested. Some survived. I escaped them. And now, I ask this of you." David stood up, his mind spinning. "You came here to ask me to get you pregnant?" Thaya lowered her head. "I know it sounds shameful, but I have nothing left. I don't want your money. I don't want love. I just want life. I want to save what little is left of my people." She looked at him again. "Please." David rubbed his face. He'd seen strange things in his years as a traveler. But this was beyond anything. He looked at her again. She was clearly telling the truth, or believed it fully. And she was not some monster. She was scared, alone, and begging. "I don't even know you," he said, "and you don't know me. I know humans can be cruel," she said. "But I hoped just one might be kind." David stayed quiet. "Just let me stay," she added, voice breaking. "One night, then decide." Later that night, while David lay in his bed, he heard soft crying. He walked to the small living area and saw her curled up by the heater, shaking. "You okay?" he asked. She looked at him, tears shining in her eyes. "My people used to sing to our young. I remember the lullabies. But I may never sing them to a child of my own." David didn't reply, but his chest ached a little. She whispered, "Thank you for not throwing me out." He gave a slow nod. "Let's talk more tomorrow." As he returned to his room, one thought would not leave his mind. She hadn't come for love. She came for hope, and somehow that made it even harder to ignore. Her people are gone. I am the last one. The morning came with quiet gray light. David didn't sleep much. He kept thinking about Thaya, the alien woman who had knocked on his door, begging not for food or money but for something deeper. Now she sat at the edge of his porch, wrapped in a blanket, staring into the forest. Her shoulders looked heavy, as if she carried the weight of 1,000 souls. David stepped outside and handed her a warm drink. "You sleep?" She shook her head. "I had dreams, old memories." He sat beside her. "Tell me about your people." Thaya looked up, eyes cloudy. "We were once many. Bright cities, music in the air, children laughing. We lived in harmony with the stars, but then the hunters came. Hunters. They called us weak, beautiful, useful. Some bought us, others took us." David's face darkened. "We tried to fight, but they had weapons we had never seen. Our males died first, then our homes burned. The sky itself turned red." She pulled the blanket tighter. "I was taken to a breeding lab. They studied us, used us. I escaped with others, but most were caught again. Some gave up and walked into the fire." David clenched his fists. "And now? Now I am the last female from my region. Maybe from my entire world." She looked him straight in the eyes. "My body is still strong, but I have no one to pass life on to." He stood up and walked a few steps, thinking. "You said only humans can—" She nodded. "Yes. Your kind and mine share something. In blood. In spirit. Our biology changed when the poison clouds came. It made us compatible." David took a deep breath. "But why not find help in a city?" Thaya's voice became cold. "Because cities trade in alien flesh, especially ones like me. Pretty, rare, and desperate." That word, desperate, hung in the air like smoke. "I didn't want to be sold again," she whispered. "I wanted to choose." David looked away. "Why me? You live alone, far from greed. You did not shoot me. You gave me a blanket. That is enough." She gently placed her hand on his. Her fingers were cool but soft. "I do not want to force you, but I must try. I carry many souls inside me. The voices of my mothers. They beg me to continue. I just need one chance. One human heart." David swallowed hard. "This isn't easy for me, Thaya. I know, but I am not asking for love. I am asking for mercy." Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from inside the cabin. David rushed in, followed by Thaya. The communication pad on his desk was flashing. A private message. He opened it. From Dr. Jensen, Xenobiology Research Base. Message. "You asked about a Zurellan female. If she is at your home, listen carefully. They are real, rare, and in danger. If she asks to bond, know this, it may not be just physical. Her kind binds deeply, soul to soul. You may never be the same again." David stared at the screen. Thea looked at him. "What does it say?" He turned to her slowly. "It says, this isn't just biology. It's something deeper. Maybe forever." Thaya nodded. "Yes, in my culture, if I choose a father, he is no longer just a donor. He becomes part of my spirit. My people believed in lifelong connection, even beyond death." David felt the room spin. He walked to the door, opened it, and breathed in the morning air. So much had changed in just one night. Behind him, Thaya whispered something in her own language. He turned. Her eyes were wet, but she smiled gently. "I don't want to steal your life," she said. "But if you give me even a piece of it, I will carry your name into the stars." A scientist's warning, and a deadly truth. David didn't sleep that night either. Thaya had gone quiet again, curled up on a folded blanket near the heater. But David paced the room, his thoughts racing. A part of him wanted to help her. Another part feared what helping might mean. In the early morning light, he sent another encrypted message to an old friend from Earth. Dr. Harris, a retired xenobiologist who now lived in orbit, studying rare alien species. David wrote only one line. "I think I found a living Zurellan. She wants to bond." He pressed send and waited. The reply came in minutes. "David, listen carefully. If she is truly Zurellan, stay Stop everything. Do not touch her until I explain. A few seconds later, a live call connected. Dr. Harris's serious face filled the screen. Is she there with you now? The older man asked. David nodded. She's resting. Harris lowered his voice. Then let me tell you something that no public records share. Zerellans are not just rare, they are ancient biobonders. David frowned. Biobonders? Yes. They don't reproduce like us. When they choose a mate, they don't just share DNA, they fuse something deeper. Emotional waves, neural echoes. She won't just have your child. She may carry your memories and you may feel hers. David stared at the screen, stunned. Harris leaned closer. Once bonded, there is no undoing it. Many humans who were used in old Zerellan experiments were never the same. Some wept for things they'd never lived. Others dreamed of stars they'd never seen. David whispered, So, if I agree, I won't just be a father? You'll be a part of her forever, Harris said. And she a part of you. David went silent. Then Harris said something that sent a chill down his spine. There's one more thing. David, has she touched your skin? Bare skin? David's heart dropped. Yes. Her hand. Yesterday. Harris nodded slowly. Then the bond may already be starting. What? Zerellan females release microscopic bonding threads through skin contact. You might not feel it at first, but if she touched you, she's already connected, she just hasn't completed the link. David turned to look at Thaya, still sleeping peacefully. She looked small, harmless, but now he wasn't sure anymore. Can it be stopped? He asked. Harris paused. If you truly wish to stop it, leave now. Don't say goodbye. Don't touch her again. But if you stay, you'll begin to feel her dreams, her fears, her pain. And the child? Harris sighed. If it happens, the child may not be fully human, or fully Zerellan. It might become something new, something no scientist can predict. The screen went black. Call ended. David stood in the silence. He stared at his hands. Had she already changed him? He turned around slowly. Thaya was awake. I felt your fear, she said quietly. David's mouth went dry. You. What? I dreamt of you running. Afraid. That was not my fear, it was yours. He stepped back, stunned. So it's true. Thaya slowly stood. I never lied to you. I only waited until you were ready to know. David swallowed. So if I stay, we're bonded forever? She nodded. Your memories will live in me. My soul will echo in you. Our child will carry both. He didn't know what to say. She looked away. But if you are afraid, I will not stop you from leaving. You can go, you are free. David looked at the door, and then at her. He remembered the soft crying she had done on the first night. He remembered the way she refused to beg twice. She had offered her truth, and nothing more. He sighed. I don't know what's right anymore, he said. Thaya walked to him slowly. Then let the stars decide. She reached out her hand again, and this time he didn't step back. The ritual begins. That night, the stars seemed closer. David stood outside the cabin staring at the strange constellations of planet Juno 7. The air was cold, but he barely noticed. Inside, Thaya was preparing something. Quiet, careful, and serious. She had said only one thing before closing the door behind her. If you are willing, then tonight the bonding begins. He didn't understand all of it, but something deep inside him, something old, something human, whispered that his life was about to change forever. When David walked back in, the lights were low. Thaya stood in the middle of the room. The blanket was gone. She wore a soft white robe that shimmered like moonlight. Her hair, now dry, fell in waves behind her back. Her silver eyes glowed gently, not with desire, but with meaning. "Sit," she said softly. He obeyed. She placed a bowl of blue liquid in front of him. "It's not poison," she said with a half smile. "It's memory water. It opens the mind." David touched it. It was warm. "Do I drink it?" "No. Just place your fingers in it. Then close your eyes." He did. Suddenly, David felt a strange pressure in his chest. Not pain, but heaviness. His eyes were shut, but light bloomed behind his eyelids. Green skies, golden rivers, a giant crystal palace shining under twin suns. Then a scream, a child's scream, flames, shadows, running feet, a hand reaching, then letting go. He gasped and opened his eyes. Thaya stood before him, tears on her cheeks. "You saw it," she whispered. "That was you?" She nodded. "My last memory of home. I showed you. Now you carry it too." David stood up, shaken. "I felt your fear, your loss." "And that is only the beginning," Thaya said. "If we complete the ritual, more will come. Joy, pain, even love, if it grows." He looked at her closely. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because bonding is not only for creating life," she said. "It is for sharing life. I do not want to create a child with a stranger. I want the father to know who I am, even if only a little." David sat back down. His mind was racing, but his heart was strangely calm. "What happens next?" Thaya knelt before him. "Next, I give you part of my breath. You will dream what I dream. If you wake in the morning, it means the bond is strong. And if I don't, then you die." He blinked. "You're joking, right?" Thaya looked down. "No. That is why I waited. Not all humans survive this." David stared at her, shocked. "You should have told me earlier." "You would have said no," she replied. "But I believe you are strong." He laughed bitterly. "That's not comforting." She gently touched his arm. "You still have a choice. Walk away now and nothing will happen." David looked at her hand. It was warm this time, not just from heat, but from trust. He took a long breath. "Let's do it." Thaya stood and placed her hands on his temples. She leaned close and with a soft whisper exhaled a strange mist into his face. It smelled like flowers and rain. His body went still. Darkness wrapped around him. In the dream, he was no longer David. He was walking through Thaya's world before the fall. He laughed with her friends, danced under glowing trees, kissed someone beside a lake. Then the fire came again. Screams, explosions, burning skies. He saw her being dragged by metal hands. He felt her pain, her fear, her strength as she escaped. But then the dream changed. He saw himself, David, but not as he was. He was taller, glowing, holding a child with pale purple skin and blue eyes. The child looked up and said, "Father." David woke up gasping. It was still dark. Thaya sat beside him watching. "You lived," she whispered, smiling through her tears. "The bond is complete." David touched his chest. "I saw everything. I know." He looked at her. "And I saw a child." She nodded. "That is what may come, if you still wish it." David didn't answer. He only stared at her, really stared, for the first time. She was not a stranger anymore, not to his soul. Someone is watching us. For 2 days after the ritual, the forest around David's cabin felt peaceful. Thaya moved more freely now, her shoulders no longer slumped from fear. She walked barefoot outside, humming soft alien songs, letting her fingertips brush the tall grass. David watched her from the doorway. Part of him still couldn't believe this was real. He hadn't just helped a stranger, he had bonded with a different species, one who now shared his memories. But even in peace, something felt off. At night, the birds stopped singing too early. The forest grew too quiet. And once, David found footprints in the mud. Not his, not hers. The next morning, Thaya froze while sipping her drink. "They're near," she said quietly. David looked up. "Who?" She placed the cup down. "The ones I ran from. I feel them watching. They carry the scent of old machines and blood." David stepped outside. The sky was cloudy, the wind sharp. He scanned the trees but saw nothing. "We should move," Thea said. "If they find me, they'll take me back. I'll be forced to breed in chains." David's jaw clenched. "They won't take you." "You don't know them, David. They are traders of rare life. They wear human faces, but inside, they are monsters." Later that day, David set up perimeter alarms around the cabin. Simple. Motion detectors, tripwires tied to bells, anything that could warn them. That night, they slept lightly. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the first bell rang. Ding. David sat up fast and grabbed the light blaster from under his bed. Thaya was already awake, whispering a strange chant under her breath. Her skin glowed faintly blue, something David hadn't seen before. "What is that?" he asked. "It helps me sense their fear. If they are near, I will feel their hunger." "Stay inside," David said, stepping out into the cold night. He walked silently, scanning the dark trees. Then he saw it, a shape, tall, thin, moving like smoke between the trees. "Show yourself," David shouted. Nothing. Suddenly a voice came from the shadows, smooth, calm, and cold. "We do not wish to harm you, human. We only seek what belongs to us." David pointed the light blaster. "She doesn't belong to you. She is Zurellan, property. We paid for her bloodline, she escaped. We are here to correct that mistake." David's grip tightened. "You'll have to kill me first." A pause, then a soft laugh. "That can be arranged." Before David could fire, something struck him from behind. Fast and silent, he hit the ground hard, his vision blurred. A metal boot pressed on his back. He looked up. There were 3 of them, tall, masked figures in black armor. Their suits hissed with steam, their helmets glowing red. One leaned down. "You bonded with her, didn't you? Foolish. Now we'll have to cut the connection before removal." "Over my dead—" Before he finished, a loud screech cut through the forest. Not human, not animal. Thaya. The trees glowed with strange blue light. The hunters turned in surprise, just in time to see Thaya walk toward them, her eyes shining. Like fire. She raised her arms and the wind screamed louder. Suddenly 2 of the hunters collapsed, clutching their heads, crying out in pain. Blood ran from their ears. The 3rd tried to run. David tripped him with the pipe he kept hidden at his side. Thaya walked up slowly, trembling with power. "You came for me," she said, voice echoing strangely. "But now, I carry a human soul, and that makes me more dangerous than you know." David stood, still shocked. "What did you do to them?" "I shared a dream with them," she said coldly. "One they will never forget." By sunrise, the attackers were gone. Thaya had erased their memories and sent them limping back into the wild. David sat on the porch, trying to calm his breathing. Thaya sat beside him. "Now you see," she said softly. "I am not just a victim. I am also a storm." David looked at her with new eyes. Not just pity, not just care, but respect. "You saved me," he said. She smiled. "You gave me hope. I simply returned the favor." He fights back. For her, the forest was no longer safe. After the attack, David didn't sleep. He sharpened tools, checked old weapons, and turned his quiet cabin into a silent fortress. But something inside him had already changed. He wasn't just protecting a visitor anymore. He was defending his mate. Thaya, too, had changed. She moved differently, calmer, stronger, as if her bond with David gave her power. Her eyes glowed brighter when she touched him, and when she smiled now, it wasn't from fear. It was from trust. But peace didn't last. At dawn, a message crackled through David's old radio unit. A voice, cold and robotic. Human, return the Zarellan, or we burn everything you touch. David smashed the device with one hit. That same morning, he packed a small bag. Thaya watched from the doorway. You're leaving? She asked, her voice soft but steady. Just for a while. I need to cut them off before they strike again, he said. They're tracking signals. I know where their camp is. I helped build that relay tower 5 years ago. Her eyes filled with worry. It's too dangerous, you're just one man. I'm not just one man anymore, he said, looking at her. I'm your man. She stepped closer and placed her palm on his chest. Then take this. She handed him a small silver crystal. What is it? He asked. It's part of my core. If you die, I'll feel it. If you live, I'll know. The path to the enemy's hideout was deep in the northern ravines. David moved like a ghost, through the rocks and trees. The old tracking tower still blinked red, hidden behind false vines and ruins. He spotted 2 guards in black suits. Not machines, but close. Their movements were stiff, heads covered in tech helmets. David crouched low, pulled out a homemade EMP dart, and fired. Thuck. One guard dropped. The second turned, but David was already moving, rolling behind a tree, throwing a small flash pellet. Bang! The guard screamed as light blinded him, and David knocked him out with a heavy pipe swing. Inside the relay station, David worked fast. He cut wires, rerouted power, and planted a timed overload device. He didn't just want to send a message. He wanted them to feel the fear this time. Before leaving, he scrawled a short note on the metal wall with a sharp tool. She is not yours. She never was. A human. Then he vanished into the forest. Back at the cabin, Thea waited by the window. She hadn't moved in hours. Her hand clutched the silver crystal. Then, a sharp heat bloomed in her chest. She gasped. David! A bright light exploded in the distance. The mountain shook. Birds flew in panic. The relay tower was gone. But Thaya felt no pain, only a deep warmth. She ran out into the woods. David returned, covered in ash and scratches, dragging. One of the guard's helmets, Thaya saw him and ran to him, arms wrapping around his body. I told you, he whispered, breathless. I'm not dying on you. She placed her head on his chest. The crystal in her hand pulsed once, then melted into dust. The bond is complete, she said softly. I don't need the crystal now. I can feel you. Always. David chuckled. Well, that's both beautiful and creepy. She laughed, the sound full of life. That night, they didn't speak much. They sat together by the fire, shoulder to shoulder. David finally said, I didn't think I'd be the kind of man who risks his life for someone else. Thaya replied, you didn't do it for someone else, you did it for us. A new family and a new future. The seasons on planet Juno 7 were short but fierce. In just 2 weeks, the cold winds turned warm. The skies, once gray, now shimmered with silver clouds, and inside the small cabin in the woods, life began again. Thaya stood barefoot in the garden David built just for her. The soil was dark and rich. Tiny green shoots poked through. She touched them gently, humming an old Zarellan lullaby. Her hands had once only known fear and running. Now, they grew food. Her belly had changed too. She was carrying life. David stepped outside, wiping oil from his hands. He'd spent the morning fixing the water lines and reinforcing the roof. But when he saw Thaya in the sun, he stopped and simply stared. She looked peaceful, stronger. Not the same alien woman who had once knocked on his door in the rain, begging for a future. He walked over, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Tired? He asked softly. She leaned back into him. No, just remembering. Good memories, now they are. They stood like that in silence for a while, breathing together, Later that night, Thaya lit 3 small candles and placed them on the table. David tilted his head. "What are those for?" She smiled. "One for my past. One for your present. One for our future." David chuckled. "Sounds poetic." She took his hand. "Tonight, we name the child." His eyes widened. "Already?" Zerellans name their child before birth. "We believe the name guides the soul." David nodded slowly. "All right. What kind of name are you thinking?" Thaya looked up. "Half human, half Zerellan, so something strong, but gentle." David smirked. "Like you?" She smiled. "Like us." As they spoke names, something stirred in the trees. A shadow moved just outside the cabin, but this time, it wasn't danger. It was Dr. Harris, the xenobiologist who had once warned David about the risks. He stepped into the clearing slowly, arms raised. "I come in peace." David opened the door and stared. "You came all the way here?" "I had to see it for myself," Harris said, looking at Thaya, then her belly. "You really did it." Thaya nodded. "He did more than that. He gave me a home." Harris stepped forward. "May I scan the baby, just to learn?" "No harm." David looked at Thaya. She gave a small nod. Harris pulled out a small silver device and scanned. Then, his eyes widened. This isn't just a child," he whispered. "What do you mean?" David asked. Harris turned the screen around. The image showed a small glowing shape inside Thaya, but it pulsed with 2 hearts. One beat like a human's. The other, like something new. "It's a hybrid," Harris whispered. "But it's evolving. Faster than either of your species. It's stronger. Smarter. This may be the next generation." Thaya placed a hand over her belly. "Then our love created not just life, but hope." David smiled. "And they'll be raised right, with soil, stars, and peace." Harris backed away. "I'll keep this quiet. You've earned that much. But someday, the universe may come looking." David nodded. "Let them. We'll be ready." As Harris disappeared into the trees, Thaya whispered, "You are no longer just a man, David." He looked at her. "Then what am I?" "You are the father of the future." Weeks passed. The garden grew. And one morning, a cry filled the cabin. Not a cry of fear, not a cry of pain. A baby's cry, loud, healthy, alive. David held the small child in his arms, tiny hands, pale purple skin, and wide silver blue eyes. "She has your strength," Thaya whispered, smiling through tears. "And your light," David replied. They named her Lyra, a name that meant star path in both human and Zerellan tongue, and far, far, above Juno 7 among the stars. A new star blinked into life. The universe would remember the day a poor alien woman begged for help, and a human didn't just give her hope. He gave her everything,